Retirement is a ruse. Putting your life on hold for the future is not the best thing you can do. Hi, I'm Jim Roman, national speaker and business coach, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Jim Roman Show, where today we're going to be talking about how you can have a life while living your life. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we do these every single week, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, live, whether it's on Facebook here or on my speaker page today. Today's topic I thought was important to do on my personal page. So often you want to do your business stuff on your business page, but today I'm going to be talking about not putting your life on hold. I'm going to be sharing one thing that if you figure out, uncover, and discover this one thing, it will give you a life. In fact, this one thing is how I built this business 15 years ago. After selling my previous business, I uncovered this one thing. And so today I'm going to be sharing with you this one thing that can give you a life. So let's jump right into it. For those of you, this is your first time joining us. How this works is I typically talk for 20 minutes and then I teach a topic, and then the next 20 minutes I answer any of your questions in the comments below. If you're joining this recording after going live, I highly recommend you continue to comment below because I do check on these on a regular and consistent basis. Also, if there's anything that you want me to go into deeper or further, please comment below, message me, or email me. My email address for these episodes is questions@askjimroman.com. Again, that's questions@askjimroman.com. This is an opportunity that if I don't cover your challenge, I can go over that challenge with you as we follow up with these posts and everything like that. So with that being said, let's jump into today's topic. So I started off by saying retirement is a ruse. What did I mean by that? Do you know where retirement actually came from? I would like to say the myth of retirement came from. Retirement came from the Germans. And in fact, I Googled this and I looked it up. Back in 1889, German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck invented the idea of retirement. Let me say that again. He invented the idea of retirement. He established this concept and that we now follow to this day. And I don't believe in retirement. I truly don't believe in retirement. And the reason being, and I'll go into details, is a lot of people I know that retire at 65, at age 70, end up realizing that they wish they would have lived their life sooner, quicker, earlier, more of it, if you will. And I don't want that to happen to anybody. If anybody knows my story, my dad passed away of a heart attack at age 62. We owned a restaurant, and when he died, that restaurant died. And it made me realize in 1996 when that happened that I needed to live more of my life on purpose and intentional about that. Years later, my mom had cancer who passed away, and that year I realized that was the year I needed to live my life. And so I took off half the year to travel the country and really enjoy the fruits of my labors. And today I want you to have the same thing. I don't want you to wait till retirement to live your life. I don't want you to wait till retirement to someday get there and not make it, pass away. Or in a lot of cases, again, the people that I meet that are in retirement tend to wish they would have lived life along the way. So finishing up the concept that was invented by German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck states this: those who those who were disabled from work by age and invalidity, excuse me, let me slow down a second. I'm a little excited, so I apologize. So let me say this again. German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck invented the idea of retirement, establishing the concept for the rest of us. Those who are disabled from work by age and invalidity have a well-grounded claim to care for by the state. He said at the time, he wanted to address high youth unemployment by paying those 70 and older to leave the workforce. And other countries follow suit with retirement ages around 65 to 70. So again, he was encouraging youth to get into the workforce, and so he's offering a retirement package for those 65, in this case 70 or older, so that they would leave work, right? You would think, oh, that's a great deal. The government's gonna pay me to get off work, no problem. But there was one big difference in 1889 in Germany and the world we live in today. The average lifespan then was 70 years old. Now we're all living much longer now, but the concept is simple. I'm going to pay you to retire at age 70 so that we can get other workers into the workforce Some would say it was to fund some other things if you go into real deep details of it. But the thing that was interesting was that people retiring at age 70 and then dying at age 70, so he never had to pay them out. Now we're living longer, and you'll see that the retirement age I heard growing up was 65. Now it's pushing to 70. Is that because of Social Security? I don't know. I'm not going to get into politics right now, but that's not my point. My point is that most often people wait to live their life in retirement. Well, when I remember someone saying, when I retire, I'm going to golf every single day, every single day. Someone followed up with him and said, hey, how's retirement? He goes, you know what? You can only get so much of golf. Even though I love golf, every single day is just too much. I know people in the military who retired from the military and within 1 to 2 years statistically have a heart attack and die. So what I want to share with you today is don't put your life on hold for retirement. Don't wait to live the good years of retirement. I'm going to say start living your life now. Start living your life now. And I find that if you start to live your life now, it brings life to everywhere in your business. So let me give you an example of how you can apply this concept. So if you've been in our previous talks, I talked about the 5 drivers to success, the 5 things that we've uncovered and discovered helping companies go from micro to millions while having a life. One of the drivers, I won't go into all of them, you can read articles on that and go to previous videos on that. But the first article is, why do you do what you do? Why did you get in business in the first place? The number one answer is to make money. Right? Great. But I would argue that it isn't to make money. I believe that we do what we do to make money to be able to live the lifestyle we want. I'll say that again. I believe we do what we do to make a difference, to make an impact, but to ultimately make money to have the lifestyle we dream of. And that's where it goes to the second driver. The second driver is, where do you want to be beyond the business? I ask quite often. In other words, if your business is running itself, your position was running itself, and you're freed up to do whatever you want to do for fun, what would you be doing? Number one answer is, I don't know, Jim. I'm too caught up in COVID. I'm too caught up in the day-to-day running of my business. I'm too caught up in the fires I have to put out every single day in my business. In other words, people stop dreaming about the future. And that's what we're talking about, is what are those dreams and aspirations you have in the future that you can be living now? Another question I ask people about where do they want to be on the business. Another way of looking at that, I'll ask you this question, and feel free to comment in the comment section if you don't mind. Again, whether you're seeing this live or you're watching the recording of this. My question to you that I want you to comment in the comment section is, if you had enough money, say $2 million to $10 million in the bank, time, education, family, COVID, all of that set aside, you were literally freed up financially, physically, to do whatever you wanted to do for fun, what would you do? Put that in the comments below. Now, one of the first answers that people get past in paying down debt and paying off bills and I don't know, is number one answer typically is travel. Jim, I would want to travel. So put that comment below. But I would be more specific as to where would you want to travel to? A lot of times people say, anywhere, Jim, right now, anywhere. Again, COVID aside, I believe that the more specific you can be, the more the odds it's going to happen. Would you want to go to the beach? Yes, Jim. What beach? Any beach, Jim. But be specific. Again, these are the conversations I have on a regular, consistent basis. I believe if you know why you do what you do, your purpose and passion, but also where you want to be beyond the business, your dreams and aspirations, and you get those clear and crystal, I promise you, you're more likely to implement quicker, faster, better than anything you'll ever do. So again, if you had all the time and the money, education limits all set aside, you had freedom to do what you wanted to do, what would that do? Comment below. I would love to see that. Someone says live on a boat. Love it, love it. Sitting on the beach. Excellent, excellent. I've had people, I actually had a client, speaking of boats, I had a client who wanted a big boat. He says, one of my dreams is to live on a boat someday. And then it would be to sail across the country around the Horn of Africa or whatever that was. And I said to him, if it's to live on a boat, do you even own a boat? And he goes, no, I don't own a boat. I said, maybe the first step is to rent a boat and see if you still like boating. and then maybe own a boat, and then maybe eventually own a bigger boat. And lo and behold, 2 years ago, they actually bought a boat. I think they now have 2 boats, and they go boating regularly. In other words, they're not waiting to get the big boat to live on the boat, which again is still a dream and aspiration to this client, but they're now living a life where they can go on the boat once a month at a lake that they live at, and start to enjoy that experience now. So I love it, love it. A beach, I would ask where are beaches? So these are some great ideas. Let me share some other ideas that people have said in the past to give those who are, again, watching this recording later. Some of the ideas I've heard is, number one is travel. They would travel to Germany, to Ireland. They would travel across the country in an RV. I've had people, as Sherry just mentioned, she'd have a boat. She'd live on a boat. Well, for me, if you're living on a boat or owning a boat, maybe you can rent a boat once a month just to get that experience and get that feeling back if you have ever been on a boat or lived on a boat. And so these are some examples. Some people would set up a nonprofit. I know somebody who one of their goals was to open up an orphanage for kids. So long story short, part one of this presentation, this talk is to start dreaming again, asking yourself the right questions. And I do have a worksheet, a life goal worksheet. If you want it, please message me or put the comment in the comments below and I'll attach it, or you can email again at questions@askjimroman.com. That will help you uncover and discover your dreams and aspirations, what we like to call life goals. What are your life goals that you can live now to give you life now? Okay. So part one of this is, again, to start to dream again and think about the future. Do you want to travel? Where do you want to travel? Number two, if you want to own a boat, live on a boat, go sailing, again, get those things down on paper. Okay. Part two of the process is to then put the math to it. Put the math to what it would cost for you to live that kind of life now or in the future. I'll give you an example of that. One of my first experiences in teaching the life goal seminar that we did many years ago, 15 years ago, to start this business, I remember working with a contractor, and she volunteered to use herself as an example of being able to write down her life goals. And so we asked her what her life goals, and I still remember 15 years later some of those goals. One of those goals was to go to Disney. Take her family to Disney was one of those goals. Number two was to get an RV and travel across the country, which amazing, with her family, which I don't know if I could go across the country with my family in an RV, but hey, they're her dreams. And then it would have a house on the beach. And so we wrote all those things down and we started putting the math to that. Now, if you want the spreadsheet that we used to do this, again, message me, email me, reach out to me, and I'll send you that, our needs, wants, life goal worksheet. That's a spreadsheet, real simple Excel spreadsheet. You just fill it in and it will tell you what you need now, what you want in the future, and then ultimately what it takes to have your life goals financed, if you will. So we started putting the math to what it would cost to get our business to run itself, have an employee to run that business, to rent an RV or buy an RV, to get the house, what would the mortgage be, and so on and so on and so on and so on. And we did the math. And then I asked her, okay, given the revenue that you need to produce in your company, what is your average sale? So she told us her average sale. So I wrote that down. So I took the revenue goal or the cash flow goal to be able to have the life goals that she wanted, divided by her average sale. She only needed 8 more sales a month to achieve that life goal. Again, she only needed 8 more. That's 2 a week. You should have saw her face. Her face was like, oh my God, I only need 2 more sales a week to have the cash flow, to have the lifestyle I choose. Now, that doesn't mean she has to do this, but she would be able to have the choice to do this. And that's a very powerful thing. It's one thing to not have your dreams versus having your dreams. But then there's to be able to put the math to those dreams so that you can start living those lives now. And she was only 2 sales away. Long story short, not only did she hit the sales, she went on to building a $1 million business that she was fortunate enough to sell and now be able to teach other business owners and other contractors like herself to have that kind of life and have that kind of business. And so I do believe it's possible to start living your life now. is first figuring out what those life goals are, and number two, putting them back to it. Now, let's just say for conversation's sake, you wrote down your life goals. You want to travel, you want to give back to the community, you want to set up a nonprofit, you have money and savings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you figure out your average sale and you divide it by that to figure out how many sales you need, how many deals you need. Now, how do you start to do this? Sometimes you just don't want to jump right into it. And I'm going to give you some examples, hopefully for inspirational purposes, on what you can do, again, to start living your life now. I'll use myself as an example. So when I first started teaching the Life Goals Seminar and helping people uncover their goals, somebody in one of the classes said, Jim, what are your life goals? And I was like, well, my goal is to own a vineyard. And someone asked, why do you want to own a vineyard? And I'm like, hello, I like wine. And they're like, yeah, but I don't understand why you want to own a vineyard. And I started to question, why do I want to own a vineyard? Because they turned around and said, you know how hard it is to own a vineyard? I was like, oh, wow, I never thought about that. Okay, I don't want to own a vineyard. I want to have a house on a vineyard. And I actually remember where I wanted. It's Perryville, Virginia, in the heart of the wine country in Virginia. And that's where I wanted to have my house. And they went on to ask, well, why do you want to have a house on the vineyard? I'm like, is this it like to be coached by me? Why? And I started to think about it. And I told them this story that ultimately why I want a house on a vineyard or own a vineyard is that I want to have my friends come over to my house. We go to the vineyards, find our favorite wines, come back to my house, and then enjoy the fruits of our labors, i.e. the wine and food. And in that moment, I realized I didn't have to own a vineyard or a house on the vineyard to enjoy food and wine with my friends. I could do that now. In fact, months later, I ended up getting a van and a group of my friends together, and we went out to Charlottesville, Virginia, to Barbersville with picnic baskets, and we had a big old picnic, a feast inside Barbersville. I don't know if they wanted us to do that, but we did it. And then we went over to Horton, did some more of that, and enjoyed again food and friendship and fellowship. And I started living my life without owning a vineyard or a house on a vineyard. Hopefully you get the point that there's little things you can do to make that happen. I'll give you another example. And this is sort of a different twist to it because some of us are not ready to do this today. But I was speaking in Grand Junction, Colorado, January of this year, and I was doing the 5 drivers to success. And I got to the where section, and I had people write down where they want to be, their dreams and aspirations. And somebody in the audience said, Jim, I would like to try to go to Ireland. And I found that interesting that she said, try to go to Ireland. I said to her, instead of trying, let's figure out how you can go to Ireland. And as a business coach, I should go with you to make sure you follow through on that visit. If you get my drift. I've been to Ireland twice, wonderful country. And start to figure out the math. And more importantly, how she can start enjoying that Irish experience now. I encourage people, if you have life goals, is to create a vision board. Go get a bunch of magazines from the store and start to create a vision board very similar to the one that's up there. That happens to be one of my clients in Houston, Texas vision board, what he has planned. And that reminds me of why I do what I do. It's not to just help people build a better business, it's to build a better life. And his dreams are to go to Hawaii, do the African safari, do a lot of those types of things. And sometimes having that visual representation to remind us our life goals gives us life now while we're building this business, especially during these difficult times. So I suggest you do a vision board. So we started talking about how can you go to Ireland, and I shared with her what I like to do. My dream, one of my life goals is to go to Argentina, Mendoza, Argentina, and Italy. And in Italy, what I want to do is I just want to go to a cafe on the side of the road, get some wine and cheese, and just enjoy that experience. That's it. I don't need to see the attractions. I just want wine and cheese in another country. Well, guess what? You can do that now. I can go to an Italian restaurant. There's a Cooper's Hawk restaurant is a great place where I like to go to have that kind of experience. There's a new restaurant here in Orlando, Florida, where I now live that I want to go, Francisco's. I want to check that out because it looks like an Italian experience. So once they start to open back up, I'm going to go there and I'm going to celebrate with a meal. I'm going to get a bottle of wine, hopefully go with my friends, get an Italian feast, and pretend I'm in Italy listening to the music. And so I suggested for her, maybe she can go to an Irish restaurant or go to an Irish pub. Or better yet, what you can all do this is maybe at home, have a theme-based dinner. If your dream is to go to China or is to go to Ireland or me is to go to Italy, maybe once a month, you and your family get together and have a feast at the dinner table. And maybe you play that country's music and you speak that country's language and you eat that country's food. I believe that that would be a blast. I believe that would be fun. In fact, for myself, I'm going to be having a wine tasting in the next 30 days here at my house and just enjoy my friends and show them how I enjoy wine and how they can enjoy wine, whether you're sophisticated or you're new to wine. So I'm going to have a wine tasting, a blind wine tasting for that matter, at my house. So hopefully you're getting some ideas of what you can be doing. I have one last idea for you because I think there's somebody out there saying, hey, Jim, I can't afford to do this, I can't afford to do that. And that may be true given what's going on, but I just want to, again, one last encouraging story. When I started doing this, I realized I was, back in the day, a workaholic in my previous business. And one year, I was doing leadership team training around the state, and I was in a town called Harrisonburg, Virginia. And I just got done doing a 4-hour training, and I was going to drive back to Richmond, Virginia, where I lived, specifically Midlothian, Virginia, where I lived, 3 hours back. Sleep for 4 hours, get back up, take a shower, and then drive to Stanton, Virginia, which is 2.5 hours. By the way, it's only 30 minutes away from Harrisonburg. But my mind was always, I can't afford to stay at a hotel. I'm just going to drive back and then drive back the next morning. And I realized, the gas alone probably would add up to a stay at a hotel. So I said, you know what, I have a gift card that one of my members gave me for a stay at their hotel for a crazy price. So what did I do? I stayed at their hotel. I went to a local store, bought some underwear, t-shirts, toiletries. I ironed my shirt, I freshened everything up, and I stayed at that hotel. And it was probably one of my best stays at a hotel I had in the longest time back then, because I realized I didn't have to worry about the house. I didn't have to worry about my cats I had at the time. I didn't have to worry about anything because I was in this hotel away from all those distractions. And in that moment, I realized after that trip that why don't I do more of this? And I said to myself, I can't afford it. And I realized we can't afford not to do these things. Even if it's just one night at a hotel or just one day in a town. What I went on to do is I went to Charlottesville for the day. I went to another Virginia Beach for the day. Sometimes just taking a day trip is just as good as taking a week-long trip. So I hope that you're getting something out of this. And I want to finish up and look at the comments, but give you some questions to think about. Again, if you want the questions that I would be asking to uncover and discover life, in this case, our life goals, where you want to be beyond your business, please reach out and let me know about that. I'd love to get that to you. But I want to finish by saying this. I've seen too many people be workaholics. Just last year, one of my clients says he loves the woodwork. Another client says they do the leather work and they never take the time to do these things. And I think we need to take those times to do woodworking, to do leather working, to enjoy the fruits of our labors, to enjoy fellowship and friendships. Because that's what's going to give us life now more than ever. And it will give us life ongoingly. And so hopefully today you see something you can apply to start living your life. Whether, again, it's writing down your life goals, step 1. Step 2, creating a vision board, getting some magazines that represent things like my client has right up here, Safari, right? He wants to go to Safari. Guess what I'm going to ask him next week? When's your Safari scheduled? When are you going to Hawaii? When are you going to go do these things? Because sometimes being able to be held accountable makes the biggest difference, and a coach can do that. So seek out a coach to help you with that. Then start put the math to it. What would it cost to just have dinner at your house? What would it cost to take a weekend to yourself or with your family or friends? What would it take to travel somewhere? Set up a nonprofit. Speaking of nonprofits, going back to that woman who wanted to have an orphanage. I have people who want to own bed and breakfasts as part of their dreams. Going back to the orphanage, I asked this person, how much does it cost to run an orphanage? And she goes, I don't know. Well, I'd like for you to do some homework on that. And so she did some homework on that. Weeks later, I get a call from her and she says, you'll never believe what I found out. I'm like, what? She goes, I found out there's an orphanage 1 mile down the street from my house. And I'm going to volunteer there, if at all possible, to get a feel of what it's like to run an orphanage, be a part of an orphanage, to make sure I want to own an orphanage in the future. 1 mile down the street from her house, just by looking at it up. So I really want you guys to hopefully encourage you, inspire you, give you some ideas today that you can start to apply. So as I look for the comments, I want to again ask you the question: if you had all the time and the money, $2 to $10 million in the bank, your family was taken care of, you could do anything you wanted anywhere in the world for fun, what would those things be? Put those also in the comments if you would. So looking at the comments before I finish up, I really want to thank everyone for being here today. Love, love, love that. Good stuff, people. Awesome, awesome. So in closing, what would I do if you, again, just to repeat what I said earlier, because I really, really, if you know anything about me, I want people to apply the principle. Number one, ask yourself, why do you do what you do? And that's to make money. And I believe it's to make money so that you can have the lifestyle you dream of. What is that lifestyle you want to dream? Where do you want to be beyond the business? If you have time and money, start to write those things down. Whether that's to travel, set together a nonprofit, whether that is to give back to your community, go to another country, have a house in the mountains, have a house on the beach. I recommend you rent them first before you own them second, just so you make sure you like that. And then put the math to that so you can see what cash flow or sales you need to be able to achieve that. And then start making it into bite-sized pieces and how you can do that. For me, it was having dinner with my friends in my backyard years ago with wine and Italian food. It went on to me taking a day off and going to Virginia Beach or to Charlottesville, just to enjoy the sights. It then went from one day in that town to a weekend into that town, to a week anywhere I wanted to go. Back to 3 days is pretty much how much I like to do when I'm away from life and work, if you will. Or it's to have a theme night with your family in your house, whether you have a theme from a country or a food that you want, a language that you speak, and maybe even get decorations to go with all of that to live that experience, especially during COVID now. I would love to be invited to an Italian feast if you so choose to invite me, or to an Indonesia event. I've been invited to a Jewish event. I'm gonna forget. It was an awesome. One of my clients, it was Jewish, and he invited me to this. Oh, it was just near Rosh Hashanah. It was just a wonderful. I can see the word. I can't say the word. But it was wonderful. It was a great cultural experience to be able to be Shabbats. Invited to Shabbats. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. To have that experience, I get emotional because he passed away years ago, him and his wife, of cancer. And that experience, it's priceless. That I got invited as a Christian to this event was amazing, because I got to see his culture, what our culture is built on. My religion and my faith is built on the Jewish faith. And so I say to you, please don't put your life on hold. Don't wait till the myth of 65 or 70 as the numbers keep on going up, but start to live your life now. Enjoy friendship and fellowship and family now. We don't know what we have in front of us. We don't know what we have in store for us, but I know that family, friendship, and fellowship is what's going to get us through all of this. I thank you for joining us. Again, I'm Jim Roman. The more you know, the more we all grow. Thanks for joining me. Now that we finished up that part of it, I just want to go through any final comments if anybody has, for anybody who continues to listen to this recording after the fact, would love to see that. So I'm going to go through the comments of this and any last, we'll call it the bonus section of today. Comments. Toby, good to see you. Always love listening to you. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Thank you for being on here today. I will email you, get you the goals. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Who else? Yellowstone Park. Love it. That's awesome. Live on a big lake on a house. That's interesting. I didn't talk about this earlier, but one of the stories, I was at Lake Gaston visiting a friend. And a friend of mine went down there. We were riding jet skis and we had to get him gassed up. And my friend asked this gentleman, a former client of mine, his name Brian, why did you build a house on the lake? And he says, because of Jim Roman. And I'm like, I was a little coward because I was wondering what he meant by that. He says, well, he said that in a child's eyes, there's no such thing as quality time. There's just time. Again, I'll say that again. In a child's eyes, there's no such thing as quality time. There's just time. He went on to say is that my kids were getting older and I didn't want them to go off to college and miss that time together. So we built the house on the water so we can create memories together now. And they still have that house and they still go in that house regularly. And so it was great to see that, that going on. So awesome, awesome, awesome. Do I have a worksheet that can help people run the numbers? Yes, I do. I have a needs, wants, like, goal worksheet I can send to you all if you want that. Stay on the hunt for the boys after I get back from Germany. Yes, Germany. Yes, 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 yes. You should go talk to Chancellor von Otto about his retirement. I wonder what's going on there. Cool. Well, it seems like we covered everything. Oh, Elisa was on. That's awesome to see you as well. So again, I just want to see if there's any last questions. The training is over. Tune in next week where we're going to be talking about a new topic. If you watch our posts, we'll let you know what that is. But as always, if there's anything you want us to cover in these live events, please, please, please let us know by email or messenger or by posting a comment below. So if you're still with us, again, I'm Jim Roman, and I approve this message. Thanks for watching. Take care.